You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers today, but we got Peter Thomas from Milwaukee. Let's see, making me nervous after that last call. Go ahead, Peter.
Ryan, it's Peter from Milwaukee.
Hey.
I opened up a can of worms. I'm sorry, brother.
That's, I forgive you.
To answer your question, I'm planning on going.
Okay. Which day?
Friday night. I get done with work at 4.
Okay.
Hop in the car, get up there, check out the second round, third round. Spend the night somewhere, don't know where. We'll make friends. We'll stay wherever. Drive back Saturday. I have to perform on the weekends, as you know. All right, man. What's your decision? You're not going to make it up right now. I already get it. I get it. But maybe I'll see you there. Peace.
Well, for those of you that are only Packernet After Dark listeners, I don't know if there's any of you. If there's any, then probably not many. But we are going, pending some kind of a issue that comes up or whatever. You never know. But shortly after this whole thing went down, Peter started it, opened a can of worms. You can partially thank Peter. And then the whole Cats in the Cradle thing went going, and we did the song, and it was like, okay, that song definitely sucks in a, certain kind of way. And then, immediately after, so I just got done doing the song, and I'm like, all right, that song kind of made me sound like a little bit of a douche, because there's some truth to it. And I don't like that song. My son comes bursting in, and just with a, not legitimately crying, but, that sort of begging kind of a tone. I want to go to the draft. So I was like, all right, dude, I tell you what, ask your mom if she wants to go. Because part of my thought was, I don't think I'm going with just him and I. As much as that would be cool. It just, there's a lot there. I feel like it would be like a family day trip kind of a thing. Plus, if I said that, ask your mom if she wants to go, she's almost assuredly going to say yes, and then I'm locked in. And so I pretty much knew when I said go ask mom that I was locking myself in. So I kind of did it on purpose. And that is how it all went down. He went and asked her. 30 seconds later, yeah, she said we'll go. I'm like, all right, well, I guess we're going. The only thing that's not 100% is what day. The plan is day 1. I feel like that's fairly locked in, but my son actually wants to go day 2 because his friends will be there on day 2. So it's not impossible. I just think it would be so much better to just do the draft and then come back and do the entire draft here. Like I said, be back for the picks here. Otherwise, it's going to be stay up super late, then get up early, then go to the draft, then come back, then do the draft. It's like, I don't know. I would rather it be more, make sense, I guess. All in one kind of a deal. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see how she goes, I guess. That is the plan, though. So, obviously, I wasn't as moved for my son and his friends because it's like, it'd be cool to have his buddies there, to be at the draft and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I don't want to hang out with another family. Obviously, I want this to be my family and stuff. So I wasn't too heartbroken about it, although I felt bad for him. But then you're saying you're going to be there day 2, so it's like, well, maybe we can move it around. I don't know, man. I'm sticking with day 1 for now. We'll see how it goes. We will see. But as of right now, again, pending some kind of a emergency or something, we are planning on being there.
Hey Ryan, Drew from Green Bay, and when it comes to wide receivers and what we need, I kind of feel like on one hand, sorry I'm at the rescue for the exact, but on one hand I want to 50-50 guy, and I feel like that's what we're missing. But on the other hand, like I kind of feel like that's just not what LaFleur's offense is. Like he wants separators. Like, I don't think there's a spot for a 50-50, big, slower wide receiver. The closest thing we have is like Watson, who can fly, and he's a bigger wide receiver, and you can kind of throw it up to him. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think LaFleur is looking for that at all. And it's like a schematic thing, just like on defense, when people are like, I want a man guy, because we're kind of missing a man-to-man guy. But that's not what our defensive scheme is. Like, you put one man guy, a bunch of, among a bunch of, zone guys, well, he's like, and they're just going to pick them apart because you're going to be in zone.
I think your dogs are killing each other, dude.
So, yeah, I don't know, it's like, it'd be nice to have that guy. I guess we just need to rely on the tight ends, to be the for
yeah, I think so.
For Love. But yeah, about some of the top guys, I do think Warren could fall, and if he falls, it'll be interesting. Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State. It'll be interesting how far he falls if he starts or what that does to the level of him. Because he's not like this crazy, like, generational player. He's got a lot of flashy plays because he threw the ball. He played Wildcat. The media eats that up. Just like they're eating up, Hunter because he played, both sides of the ball. He probably won't do that much in the NFL. And it's just like, sometimes I wonder if the NFL is very different on a guy like Tyler Warren. But I do like him. It's just 7 seems crazy to me. I don't know. I don't like him anywhere up that high. But I think it's a low first rounder. But all right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
I feel like there's a couple important words that I missed in there, but that's fine. As far as the wide receiver thing, that is a good point. Like if you think outside of, let's assume we're not talking about undrafted free agents. Can you think of any time the Packers went and got like a big Mike Evans, 6'4", 225 jump ball guy? Like we've had a couple tall, fast guys like Watson and MVS, but they're not necessarily great, big, broad shoulders fighters that go up and get the 50-50. They're fast guys that happen to be really tall as well. It's like an extra added bonus to their fastness. And then you immediately brought up another good point that it's possible that they just view that as more of a tight end role. The big box people out type of stuff, that's where Musgrave kind of would be that sort of a guy if you want to look at it that way. Obviously, Tucker Kraft could be too, but if you're just talking about like a oversized receiver, you got the Luke Musgrave type. So that's probably true. And then I think you were talking about Tyler Warren. He's currently sitting at 9, so that's probably who you were talking about. I kind of missed that a little bit, but yeah, I haven't, there's some of the guys that are way up that I really haven't looked at, Tyler Warren being one of them. I just kind of put it out of my mind because number 1, he's gone, number 2, he's a tight end, but I probably should take a pretty hard look, especially actually at, Colson Loveland, because they're both probably gone and they're probably not looking for a tight end. But also, you should look at them because, like you said, with Tyler Warren being kind of generational, I know somebody, who was it they had said he was like? I can't remember. I think it was the guy from last year. Absolute freak show. But yeah, if maybe that is the way the NFL is going. I don't really know. I haven't really put much thought into that, but yeah, it definitely doesn't seem to be the Packers prototype. They sort of have their, your Devontaes, who are just 6 foot 200, moderate speed, good route runners. You got your big fast burners, and then you got your Randall Cobbs and your Jaden Reeds and your Keyshawn Nixons if he ever switches sides, or your Mecole Hardmans.
Hey Ryan, Brian with a B.
What's up?
Now that it's April, I'm actually starting to think about the draft.
Okay, perfect.
And I was wondering if you're interested in starting the Packernet Predictorama draft picker thing like we did last year.
Let's do it.
I think last year became known as the FOGO contest. I did the spreadsheet last year, and I got it ready to roll this year. It's going to actually collect email addresses this time.
Whew.
Although if people aren't listening to your podcast, I don't think they really deserve a reward of any kind.
True.
But we can do that this year. It was kind of a fun little experiment last year, and I just look back through the results, and I mean, for anybody that doesn't know, you got to pick 10 draft prospects that you think the Packers would pick. You get 1 point for each person you pick correctly. You get a bonus point if you pick the correct round that they're drafted in by the Packers. And the winning score out of a total possible 20 points was 4. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to predict what the draft are going to do, but it was still fun.
Who was it?
And I just looked through the spreadsheet, and we had out of about 50 entries, there were a couple people that got Jordan Morgan right. There were a lot of people who had Edrin Cooper, and a lot of people who had Gaetano Ladapo or Home Depot.
Oh, yeah, that was a popular one.
So, and a few that got Tyron Hopper, too. So, as a group, we did okay. So, hey,
stitch us all together.
Let me know. I'll get it rolling again. If you're not interested, and other people are interested, just call in and guilt Ryan until he wants to do it again. I think that's all I got.
No, I think it'll be fun, especially if whenever we want to. I'm always down for projects. I'm just questioning whether I want to do the work or not. Anytime you guys want to do a project and do all the work, bro, I'm game on. So Brian with a B, if you still have my email, if you could do me a solid and just shoot me an email, I will. I shouldn't miss it. There's a chance I will, but just put something crazy in the thing or whatever. Packernet, Predictorama, don't skip this, you stupid idiot, or something. And yeah, we'll get it started. We got to do some cool stuff for sure. So we'll figure that all out. Any other ideas that you guys have? Let's freaking do it. Let's go. Should be a good time. All right, we got 3 beer cheese, so why don't we take a break here and we'll come back and rip through those. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Ryan, Beer Cheese Benny.
So, man.
I got a problem, okay?
Okay.
I think it was Garrett from Southern Illinois called in and told you the top 10 Packer podcast. What a bunch of bogus! That is a bogus top 10.
Yeah.
Okay?
Screw that guy. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to name 10, but this is how I'm going to say it. Packernet.
Yes.
Number 1. Number 2, Blue 58. Number 3, Pack-A-Day. That's about all I listen to. Occasionally I'll go and listen to other ones, but I don't even bother with Peter Bukowski because, I don't know, I think he's kind of a clown. I don't care to hear his opinion because after he said on Twitter, he's like, I do this for a living, like, you and I are not the same, or something like that. I'm like, bro, what? Like, no one cares. He's kind of like an arrogant prick, honestly. It seems like to me. But yeah, bogus top 10. Honestly, Packernet is my first listen every day.
Appreciate you.
During the Packer season. Right now I'm on the Brewers. So
seen that on social medias.
If you guys like the Brewers,
follow
me
your
on
boy.
At Beer Cheese Benny. I'd be doing a lot of stuff with the Brewers every day. I'm trying to watch every game. I know there's 162 games. And I can't watch the West Coast ones. They're on way too late. You start at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I can't do that. Okay, I'm getting older. And I work every other weekend. So, like, I got to be up early now. Freaking, we switched back to 6 o'clock start time. So I had to wake up at 4:45 instead of 5:15 now. But yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm pretty pissed off about that list, man. I don't know how you're in number 10. That's total bullcrap. Okay? Like, I bet you if I listen to these other podcasts, they're like, oh yeah, not as good, terrible. Packer's better, Ryan Chip's better. Thing is, I just wanted you to know that, man. And I love and appreciate this podcast. Honestly, there's no other podcast that does these call-ins. I mean, Blue 58 kind of does them. Like, you can leave a voice note on his, and that's great, but not a lot of people do it. But I love the consistency of this one. We get a lot of people. And so I appreciate Packernet Nation. everybody calling in, giving their opinions and stuff. It's really cool, man. So, Ryan, just keep up the good work. Just don't worry about that bogus list. Freaking just deny the haters. Just dab on the haters. All right, see ya.
Yeah, I'll people don't dab anymore. Didn't that die? I thought that died. I hope that died. And I'm sure it was just an oversight, but obviously number 2 is Packers Total Access. So can't forget about the boys over there. Appreciate you. I wish I liked baseball. I've tried basketball, which apparently nobody likes basketball anymore. I don't know what exactly is happening. All I see are like video clips of LeBron. I feel like LeBron is the only appeal of basketball anymore, and it's mostly just hate watching. You got people that are like LeBron loyalists, and then people that are like, this freaking stupid doofus, stop flopping on the ground. It's kind of like when Pat Mahomes does the thing with the out of bounds thing. It's like, you're really good at this sport, and you're making yourself look like an idiot. Please stop doing that. So, but I've tried, and I just cannot. I can't do it. I can't get into it.
You sneaky little guy, you got me there with the April Fools. But anyways, the verdict still stands. You're number 1, Ryan. All right, I don't want to hear these top 10s. Hey, this guy's number 1. No, Packernet's number 1, my guy. All right, so regardless if it's April Fools or not, I don't want to hear any of this nonsense. Okay. I'm sure there is an actual legitimate list that somebody came up with, but I'm not going to read it because they're just going to be lying. They're going to be lying. Packernet for life.
Yeah, to each their own. I know the people that listen to my show have a group of shows they tend to like and a group of shows they tend to dislike. But the shows that they dislike are very popular, some of them. So obviously a lot of people like it. And I assume that they probably hate this show. So, I love you guys. We're in this together. Appreciate you.
Ryan, here's your thing. Dude, listen to me right now.
Okay.
You need to go right now online to NFL Draft, and you need to register for the draft.
Uh-huh.
Because, and my buddy told me about this, he's like, even if you're not going, just register. It's completely free, but you need to go do that. I don't know why, or if it's like you're not going to be able to do anything or whatever if you don't do it, but make sure you go do it, man. I think you go to NFL Draft, or just go to NFL.com and then go to Draft, and then they'll say register. I don't know if you've done that.
Got to download the One app.
I'm just letting you know you should probably do that.
Pass
so,
app or
anyway,
something.
see ya.
Yeah, I honestly don't know if we officially did that yet or not. I know my son came down in a panic about the same thing. Like his friends told him that, but I didn't see anything that said limited capacity or anything. Because I don't think there is limited capacity. They're not going to be like, no, you can't walk in here. I don't freaking know. But I'm not super worried about it at this point. Seems like we're going to be okay. But I appreciate the heads up. We'll see. I guess if we go to register and they're like, nope, sorry, you are one too many people, which again, I don't know why they would do that. Then I won't be there. So there's that.
Hey, Ryan, TJ from Alabama. Just checking in, listening to the pod. Some good conversation. I appreciate the draft content, how you've been presenting that, as opposed to just, random mock drafts and things like that. I've enjoyed the content. So,
appreciate it.
Thank you for that. Just sharing various thoughts in no particular order and not really worth that much, but what the hell. So first thought, Rodgers. So I think Aaron is probably going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I'm for it because I'm for Tomlin and the head case wide receivers and with Rodgers and Rodgers doing his eye rolls and stuff like that at Pickens and Metcalf. I'm for that. So, I'm good. Also, as far as what is Rodgers waiting for, is he really contemplating retirement? I think if he was already going to do that. Is he really waiting for the Vikings? No, I don't think that's Rodgers' style to be, the second bride waiting for the first one to chop out or whatever the case may be. I don't think he's waiting for the Vikings. What I think he's doing is I think he's avoiding the whole Jets fiasco. I should say fiasco, but where, he went to Egypt or whatever and missed a few days of mini camp or whatever. I think he's telling himself, you know what, I already did the Jets thing where I went to the Jets and I was the model teammate, showing that it was the Packers all along, and I was awesome, and I was always a great leader, and I was always a part of the team, and I always could interact with the young guys. And I think he's saying, I don't want any part of that crap. I am who I am. So I'm going to wait until I don't have to do any of this stuff, until I can just show up, in minicamp or something, and not have to do all this I'm a great teammate thing, and I could just ride in on the white horse.
Yeah.
That's what I think he's doing. All right, next thing.
Could be.
I think Packer fans probably get a little too wrapped up in comparing Gutekunst with other, and I am kind of a Gutlicker as well, so I understand that. But, even, comparing to the great Howie Roseman, Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champion, super aggressive Howie Roseman. In 2024, he drafted Quinyon and Cooper DeJean. That worked out well. We'll see how it ends up. 23, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. 22, Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens. All that's pretty good. He also, in that time, drafted the outstanding Trevor Keegan, Tyler Steen, Kyron Johnson, Moro Ajomo, Zach McPherson. I mean, he has plenty of misses, too. He traded for A.J. Brown in 22. Awesome. Super aggressive. But since then, in the 3 years since then, he's made one trade for a player, and that was a fourth for DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
It's not that much different. All right, I'm coming up in 3 minutes. I got just a couple more things. Call you right back.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with him, first of all, is if that's your comparison, that's stupid. It's like, well, he's better. Yeah. Well, I shouldn't even say he's better. He's done better the last couple of years. Yeah, of course he has. So what? So that's better than good. Okay, so what? So what's your point? So we should fire Gutekunst and do what? Get somebody else. Why? Because you think they're going to go on a historic run of just nailing multiple first-round picks over 3 years like nobody else did? That's not going to happen. And just like you pointed out, it didn't even happen for him. And you know what? It's not going to continue to happen going forward. This is what we call luck. The draft this is what people refuse to acknowledge. The draft is, to a large degree, luck. And the thing with luck is that when you get large sample sizes, so when you're talking 32 different teams over, decades, you're going to have instances where you're going to have GMs that go on great runs, either 1 or 2 years where picks 1 through 7 are just dynamite, or like the Eagles where maybe the first and second round picks over a 2 to 3 year stretch are really, really good. That's not. I mean, that is an expected outcome, and it's not really in showing how great of a GM you are. I mean, it's not. It's to his credit. I'll give him credit for it. But to say that that's just how good he is, as though that's what he's always done and will always do, is stupid. That's not reality. It hasn't been what he's always done, and to think that he's going to continue doing that forever is insane, because that's obviously not going to happen. So what do we actually learn about that? Not much. Not much. I think, Gutekunst has had good years and he's had bad years. And I think GMs maybe do get to a point where, you start getting a bunch of bad years strung together and you have to start looking in different directions, because although it is largely a luck game, I think if you play your cards right, kind of like going to the casino, there's no way to win every single hand. There's no way to win every hand of poker, but there is a right way to play so that you hopefully win more games than you lose and end up winning money. Or, that's not exactly how poker works, but let's just say for the sake of argument, you try to win more than you lose so you come out ahead. And if you're not playing your cards right, then yeah, maybe you got to go find a different direction. But the idea that there are these elite GMs that have this capability to just get hit after hit after hit after hit, and if your GM isn't doing that, then he just sucks and needs to be replaced with some other legendary GM that's just floating around without a job, that's going to get hit after hit after hit, year after year after year. And that's not going to happen. There's an interesting article over at FTN that I saw. I posted it kind of on X, so if you want a little preview of what we're going to be talking about in the near future, maybe tomorrow, I don't know, or not tomorrow, but in the near future sometime, just kind of looking at Brian Gutekunst and not really being as bad even in the first round as people seem to think, and what that really means and why that is the case, because we are looking at it with a more negative lens as opposed to looking at the more positive side. I'm not going to give that away exactly what I'm talking about here, but it's just this. you mentioned comparison. It is comparison. It's also just unrealistic expectations. And I don't mean to say every critique is bad. I do wish we had a better track record in the first round, and I've been on record many times saying, depending on how this recent drafts turn out, and how this draft, for example, turns out, I might be off the Gootlicker train and on the we need to look in a new direction train, because things change. The fact of the matter is, we haven't had the big-time hits. Even the hits that I liked, like Jaden Reed and Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs, that all look like hits, if those guys, even our hits, start to become not hits, at the same time we're not really getting any, that's when we start to look at it and say, this has been a pretty bad run here. So I'm absolutely open to that, and I know at some point that's going to happen, and it needs to happen, and I'm fine with it. And I'm sure people are going to come storming, what happened to your Goot now? I understand that's how people generally operate. Politics right now is just cracking me up. The fact that, if I'm just sitting and watching, if I may get mildly political for a minute, because I'm sure you guys are at least observing it, if not completely swept up in it. The left and right I don't know if you've noticed this, they've just switched sides. Just completely switched sides. The left is now pro-war. The right is anti-war. The right is pro-tariff. The left is anti-tariff. The left is very protective of the stock market. The right now thinks it's good to sort of tank the stock market because it's going to take from the rich and give to the poor. What? What is happening right now? We have completely flipped on our heads. But it's just because this is my team and whatever they do, I'm gonna do whatever they say. So the expectation is if I like Goot, then even if he sucks, I have to defend him. And for the Goot haters, that's exactly what they do. Even if Goot does well, we have to pretend that he didn't. And we hate him and we hate him and we hate him and we hate him, and they become like a frickin' broken clock. They're wrong, they're wrong, they're wrong, they're wrong, they're right, and then they tell everybody how right they were all along. No, dude, you were wrong all along. You just happen to be right now because now is the time to move on. You've been an obnoxious, incorrect, brain-dead moron for a decade. But yes, you're right. And guess what? I'm sorry you don't even get your delicious victory, because actually I agree with you. We need to move on. Frickin' jagbag. By the way, since we're on the topic, I wonder if this goes poorly, let's just say, and from within can be kind of a problem because are we really improving and whatnot, but guys like John Eric Sullivan are starting to get a look, around the league. If we did decide to move in another direction, I wonder if a guy like John Eric Sullivan maybe could be the next GM of the Packers, maybe by next year, if this is just a disaster of some epic proportions. Like if Jordan Morgan doesn't even win the starting job over Sean Ryan or something. And obviously we have no Christian Watson, and just like the wide receivers don't pan out, and like these draft picks don't do well, and none of last year's draft picks are really doing all that well, with the exception maybe of Edgerrin Cooper. Honestly, it could happen roughly that quick. I especially now that we have a new guy in charge, I could see a situation where he's looking at it, kind of saying, what do you want me to do? This sucks here. But, legitimately, from my perspective, I do think that there are way too much comparison, way too many ridiculous standards. People don't really set standards, but if we're being honest, their standard is you just have to be perfect all the time, which nobody is. And then they'll point to like the one guy going on a historic run, which is entirely luck, but they're just never going to admit that because it just completely destroys their case because they want to be able to set this unrealistic standard. And they're like my wife with that, where it's just let me do it. Which annoyed me at first, but as we've gotten older and gotten along, it's just kind of like, yeah, no, absolutely. Just let me, by the way, it's not something weird. It just means maybe I'm wrong, but you need to shut up and just let me say this because I feel like it. And then I just go, okay, honey, you little devil, you. I don't know how her brain works. That's how her brain works. She's just like, well, I want this to be a thing, and so stop it. Just let me do it. Okay, you got it. And that is most of sports Twitter. Here's the standard. No, it's not. Just let me. Yes, it is, because I say it is. Look at that guy. He had a good draft. Why can't our guy do that? So our guy sucks. That's the standard. He did it once. Shut up. Okay. Okie dokie. Part 2 from TJ in Alabama.
Hey, Ryan. So, sorry, part 2. So I think we're kind of just, as Packer fans, a little bit delusional as far as really not really paying attention to what all the other teams are doing and all this, and it's just kind of kind of crapping on the Packers a bit. I don't really understand that as Packer fans, but, fan how you want to fan.
I mean, I really think it's very simplistic. I think it's obviously overly simplistic, but I think it's very simplistic. The bottom line is, I want to win the Super Bowl. We didn't win a Super Bowl. And then they turn into like 4-year-olds in the cereal aisle stomping their feet and just saying, not good enough, fire everybody. I mean, I legitimately think that's it. Well, you think this is good enough? He needs to be fired because we didn't win a Super Bowl. I think that's it. Again, not to say there aren't legitimate critiques. I just don't hear them. I hear pouting and whining and nonsense.
And everybody has many more misses than the draft.
Right.
And if you're really aggressive in trading and things of that nature, or really aggressive in free agency, you know what? You're more likely to be the Bears than the Philadelphia Eagles or the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm comfortable with where we are. Two last things, and I realize it's my fault because, I've got obviously linked up to the Packer news and stuff like that. So Clutch Sports and Sporting News sends those, blockbuster trade proposals and things like that.
Yeah.
And you open these damn things up, and they're the stupidest
They are
thing
so
ever.
stupid.
I mean, last year around
Well, and then the worst thing is either they'll do it, or what'll happen is people will write articles based on those articles, and what they'll put in the title is Packers linked to so-and-so in something trade scenario. And you're like, what? And then you find out it was just some random dude speculating that this would be cool.
time is blockbuster trade proposal. Cooper Kupp to the Packers, and the Packers send Christian Watson and a first-round pick. It's like Packers went and gave up a fifth for Cooper Kupp.
Right.
And then this year, blockbuster trade between NFC South and the Packers for Jair. Then you open the damn thing up, and it talks a little bit about Carolina may have some interest, but they're just going to wait until he's released.
Yeah.
So I know it's my fault for clicking on the clickbait, but boy, those things are horrible.
They're annoying.
All right, last thing. I realize there is no way to tell who's going to really be the good teams and who's going to be the bad teams this year. You don't know injuries, you don't know that. But there is some trends. I mean, Kansas City's probably going to be good. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia's probably going to be good. Baltimore Ravens probably going to be good. Buffalo probably going to be good. No guarantees, but if you look at it, Seattle has a new quarterback. San Francisco really has taken a lot of hits. Minnesota has a new quarterback. Washington looks pretty good, and Philadelphia, they're a fairly young team, so I think a Super Bowl hangover for Philadelphia is kind of definitely in the possibility.
Yep.
You look at the schedule, and I realize whatever, but, Detroit Lions, the away teams, of course, the normal three, but then they got the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Washington Commanders, Kansas City Chiefs, and L.A. Rams. That's Detroit's away teams. Our away teams, Cleveland Browns, Dallas, New York Giants, Pittsburgh, Denver, and Arizona. Clearly no idea how it's going to shake out, but Detroit sure does look to have a murderous away schedule.
Sure.
Minnesota with a new quarterback and the Bears being the Bears. I'm thinking we're in pretty good shape. We'll see how it goes. Thanks, Ryan. Bye.
Yeah, you said it pretty much perfectly. I mean, there's a general idea of who's probably going to be good. You also understand that there's a general idea that of the teams that you expect to be good, somebody's going to fall off. There's some bad teams that are going to end up being good. And then you factor in injuries and those kinds of things. So yeah, we'll have to see. I keep coming back to it, but the Eagles to end last year were a lot like the Packers. Not to necessarily draw that direct parallel, but I keep hammering this point. I remember at this time of year, I remember saying, I don't know what to think of the Eagles because they started the season so good. But then they went on to just be complete garbage. And I don't know exactly what the heck happened to them. They ended as, one of the worst teams in football. And then obviously they got to the playoffs based on what they'd done earlier. And they just ended up being complete garbage and getting knocked out. And then the Packers are kind of in a similar situation, obviously. Again, not necessarily saying it has to be the same, but just that you really just don't know what's going to happen. And the Eagles could be right back to where they were as far as falling apart. And, as far as there being hangovers and everything, they did suffer quite a bit of attrition. There were quite a few people that ended up leaving, and you never really know what's going to end up happening after you lose those guys. You got teams like Minnesota that are so unbelievably fluky in terms of, they had a completely different quarterback, and they got all new free agents now, and like everything's all different for them. Detroit, you kind of assume is going to be better because they were really, really, really scary, but just had way too many insurmountable injuries and couldn't quite overcome that. Green Bay is a complete unknown, in my opinion. I will keep saying it really just comes down to Jordan. I'm just going to keep saying that. If he can play lights out, and I'll say it as much as I always find this to be somewhat obnoxious, I will throw my hat in the ring if we can get him some help, and I don't mean offensive line. I would really like us to be able to find somebody at wide receiver that can be that dude, because I don't think we have it. I think they like Tucker Kraft, and that's cool. I don't think he's that dude. I don't believe in any of the guys that we have. I like the guys we have as 2s and 3s. I don't believe in them to be that clutch, just dominant force. But you get Jordan rocking and rolling, and you get a legit wide receiver, whether that's Teteroa McMillan, Matthew Golden, my boy Trey Harris, Higgins from Iowa State, I think is his name. Higgins? Yeah, it's Higgins, I'm pretty sure. Whatever. Jack Besh, I don't know. Those guys are probably more 2s. There's always those second-round guys that end up being 2s that we get really excited about that think they could be 1s. I don't know. I'm just thinking cyclically here. But I don't know. I in my head, I'm thinking this is legitimately going to be a thing. The Packers are going to do it. They're going to go all in. They might go get Teteroa and McMillan. But I thought that about edge too, and then Gutekunst came out and just said, "No, we're good. We're fine." Which again, I'm just saying, I misread the urgency there. I might be misreading the urgency at wide receiver, but point is, I think that could transform everything. Remember, the defense ended on a very high note. They were just getting better. I think they're going to continue to get better. This defensive staff is fantastic. We just got a massively qualified defensive line coach to come in and help this defensive line going into year 2 of this system. I saw Lucas Van Ness working out, and it got me excited. I know the workout things are always stupid, but the thing that got me excited is what is he doing? He's firing off from a 3-point stance. You know what he did the year before? He spent all offseason, well, maybe not all offseason because they hired a new defensive coordinator, but he spent a lot of the offseason working as a 3-4 outside linebacker, as well as the entire in-season. So now they get familiarity with the playbook. They get familiarity with this. And not only that, you get a full year for Hafley and the boys to analyze what the guys are doing and then be able to take that information to these trainers and say, here's what I want Lucas Van Ness working on. Here's what I want Kenny working on. Here's what I want Rashawn working on and Kingsley working on and Crosby working on. Or, whoops. Is it Crosby? Do we have a Crosby already? What is his name? Mosby. I was like, we don't have a Crosby. So you get the defense rocking and rolling. You get the linebacker stabilized a little bit. Edgerrin Cooper is LB1 from day one, not halfway through the season we find out he's pretty good. Plus Quay, we're kind of figuring out his role. We get those guys rocking and rolling with McDuffie 24/7. I'd like to see Tyron Hopper. We'll see how that goes, but it's probably McDuffie. We get the defensive line rolling. We get the DBs doing what they were doing. And on offense, we solidified that offensive line. I got some data on that too. The free agent thing is pretty interesting. It's good, more good news. If you choose to believe it, whatever. I give you the information, you take it or leave it. But what do we need? I need Jordan to be peak Jordan, and let's get him a dude. I want to go into the draft and come out of the draft with a dude. Otherwise, I'll be fine. I can live with anything else. Seriously, if we don't touch offensive line, I'll be worried about the depth. But we have an offensive line. If we don't touch tight end, if we don't touch running back, if we don't touch the defensive line at all, if we don't touch corner, if we don't touch safety, if we don't touch linebacker, I'll live with it. I mean, I'm trying to think what the next most nervous position would be for me. Maybe corner? Probably corner would be the one that would have me the most nervous. But it really doesn't touch receiver because at least with corner, again, if you can do what they did, and maybe they can't, maybe it was a fluke, but with what they did with Stokes and Valentine, and you can say, well, they protected them with it. So what? So protect them again. It worked. That's the point. The point is we had bad corners and they weren't targeted. Okay? And the defense played really well. And presumably we upgraded that. We don't have Stokes and Valentine anymore. We got Keyshawn Nixon and Nate Hobbs and Valentine or Bullard. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. Probably Valentine with Hobbs in the slot. I'll get over it. Wide receiver, if we, I mean, I know we're going to do something at wide receiver, but if it's like a third or fourth round pick, or like if we get, what's his name, the big speed guy in the fifth round or fourth round or whatever, to be like a replacement for Christian Watson temporarily, I just feel like it's time. You know, we tried to find the Devontae replacement. We found some guys that were promising, but I think we realized they're not going to reach that level. As much as I'd like Watson to get there, and even if he does, I'm not going to be mad about it. But, you know, with the injuries, and he never quite was consistent enough at the top to demonstrate that he could be that dude. I think it's time. I think we recognized. I think we know what the Packers are. Packers are a team that thrive with quarterback play, wide receiver play, and offensive line play. That's what they do. That's what they've done. Brett Favre with his great wide receivers and his great offensive lines, followed by Aaron Rodgers with his great receivers and great offensive lines. Don't always have great running backs or tight ends or defenses as a whole or special teams, but we have offensive lines, we have quarterbacks, and we have wide receivers. We lost Devontae. We got some decent players over here. We need a dude. This is the first time in a while we just don't have a dude. Let's go get a dude. You know what I mean? I don't know how many dude options there are, but I think it's time to go get a dude. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, Ryan. See you there, buddy.
1265. You said day one, didn't you? Did you say you were going on the first day? Maybe I'll catch you there somewheres. We'll see. Big place, a lot of people. You know what I mean? By the way, you guys got to, I don't know if you're planning on it. Maybe we got some calls coming up. If you want to do, like I was cycling through like t-shirt concept design. I hated all of them. I just hated all of them. They all, I mean, they look cool. AI is doing such a good job with like generating realistic looking images. They're so much better than they were. I just don't like the concept behind any of them. I just want something cool, but also something that I'm torn because I want it to blend in. I want it to be Packersy. You know, I don't want somebody to have to wear like a black shirt or a black hat to a freaking draft. Like it should be Packersy, but it should be like commemorative, and it should be both NFL draft in Green Bay and Packernet. And I'm trying to figure out how to blend that together where it's like Packersy, but also distinctive so we can see each other and be like, oh, there it is, you know, so it kind of stands out. There's the thing. If it's a hat, you know, whatever. And again, I can do a design, put it on a hat, a bandana, a t-shirt, freaking underwear. You can walk around in your underwear till you get kicked out. Anyways, as long as it's like a thing and we can identify each other, you know, I'm just saying. I want to do it. I want to give people the opportunity. And I was even thinking, because again, I expect to put out a design and have zero sales. But let's just say that's not the case. I was thinking about setting up certain kinds of tiers where it's like, if we happen to sell this many, maybe we do something a little extra. Maybe we go for 2 days. Maybe we stay somewhere. Maybe we stream from there. Maybe, you know. But we got to gauge the interest. Again, this has got to be a two-way street. A lot of times I put in a lot of work and there's no interest. Like the highlight video thing. I want to do it a lot for me. But it's also disappointing because I put in a lot of work and I put it out there, especially on X. I put it out and I'm like, this is good stuff. This is like highlights of all 22, which most people haven't seen, and it gets like 1 like. And then I'll post something stupid and it gets 112. It's like, why do I put in work? This is such a waste of my time. So, you know, if people don't want it, I don't want to waste my time doing it. But if you want to do it, like, you know, we'll see how she goes. Omar, what's going on?
What's going on? It's Omar the Firefighter. How y'all doing? Calling, shoot, man, I had all this stuff I want to talk about now. I do not remember. I know one of them was that, I know, listened to you earlier, so we're probably going to trade Jair. I mean, he hasn't done anything publicly other than the fact he said he didn't think he'll be here. But, I wouldn't trade him, like, unless, like I said, we get a good cornerback in the first round. I'm like, hey, you just gonna play or we suspend you. you know, if they suspend him or arrest him, he don't get paid that day or for that game or whatever, and he'll just have to play. And if he decide, like, so I wouldn't have a fear of him, like, not trying hard, right, while he's playing, because all he would be doing is hurting his value. So he wouldn't want to hurt his value, because then he's not going to get paid if we end up cutting him, you know. So it's kind of like shut up and play in a way, I guess, and for lack of better words, just get him to, you know, play. And then maybe draft one in the third round, one back, third or fourth one to develop into a starter. But I wouldn't trade him for or cut him for nothing. Like, I don't care what he's doing, you know, unless he's committing a crime, I'm keeping him. Unless we use him to trade up in the draft to get another starter at a different position, like a wide receiver. If we do that, that's fine. I don't have a problem. But if we don't do that, I don't want to do it. Another thing is that I'm kind of leaning towards us getting a D tackle over a DN, because if you get a DN, I feel like we're basically saying Van Ness is just out.
That's true. He's going to end up being number 3,
you know,
pretty much.
I wouldn't say getting one in the first round would be a good idea. But
and I know people are going to disagree. Like, he's not going to be 3. He's going to be number 2, maybe even number 1. No. Listen to me. They're not putting him ahead of Rashawn, and they're very unlikely to put him ahead of Lucas Van Ness, at least until half season, because he doesn't know the system. He doesn't know all this stuff. So he will be number 3 at best until he demonstrates. Now, if he comes out and he's a complete freak, it might happen pretty rapidly. But that's just how it goes. You don't know how to play. You've never been in the NFL. You've never been in a system. He's going to start. A first-round pick behind 2 first-round picks will start as edge 3 until he can earn his spot at best as edge 2. Unless, you know, he's frickin' Myles Garrett or something, and then he doesn't come off the field. But that's a fair point.
Not strong at defensive tackles. Look like we got like 2 or 3 good defensive tackles around that area. I'd rather get a defensive tackle if we can't get like a starting quality wide receiver first, and then get a DN in the second. You know, or cornerback, DN or cornerback in the second. But that's what we're gonna need our spot for our wide receiver too. So I actually don't feel like we have enough picks to fix all our needs. So if a starter is not in the cards at 23, I'd say trade back, because we, like I said, we need somebody for wide receiver. We need defensive tackle help. There's a lot of positions that we need cornerback help that I feel like people are overlooking. So I'm 100% down with the trade back scenario. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's kind of, I guess it depends. I mean, you know, again, if McMillan's there at 23, do we trade back or whatever? You know, assuming that's what they want, I don't know. But I do think, and this is, you know, I've mentioned this several times, and this was brought up, you know, to me. But the idea that the value is kind of between, I don't know, I mean, I guess that would put us in there, but say from 15 or 20 to 50. But the point is, if you can trade back and try to get 2 of those, which you probably couldn't, but you try to get 2 of those or maximize your value in that range, you're probably better off as opposed to expending massive capital at the top of that list where, you know, if guys are almost as good at 50 as they are at 23, then, you know, you might as well try to recoup some value. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I do think that that's a pretty solid possibility. It's just going to depend, because whenever I look at the mock drafts, the one thing that I think is at least possible is that there's going to be kind of potentially like that one guy, right? In other words, like there might be one left of the edge rushers. There might be one left of the corners. Whoever that might be. Maybe Jade Barron is there. You know, and maybe you pull the trigger on that. Or, you know, if they like Matthew Golden, he's there. And if you don't do it, then there's nobody left. Again, depending on your board. Defensive tackle, right? If Walter Nolan and, was it Grant or whatever are gone, you got Harmon. And that's, you know, if you don't take Harmon, you know, that's like so I just see a scenario where if you trade back, you're going to lose that last kind of top-ish tier or second tier or whatever tier it is guy. and they might end up staying and picking. But that also could keep them from trading up because, you know, again, if it's a super higher tier, whether it's the top corner out of Michigan or whatever, second highest corner. Forgive me for not remembering anybody's names right now. This is the brain rot that happens when you're so used to looking at notes for everything that you say. My mental capacity to just know the name off the top of my head is zero. Yeah, I pulled it up. Will Johnson. If these guys are still kind of hanging on, you know, why trade up? You know, because yeah, it'd be cool to go get Will Johnson or go get Teteroa McMillan, but they're both there. And so is Jahdae Barron, and so is Mike Green, and so is Kenneth Grant, and, you know, let's just wait and see how it goes. So that might prevent them from jumping up, but it might also prevent them from dropping back, because if you get to the point where you get on a run, because, again, those edge rushers are going to fly. Now, I don't know exactly how they have it. They may have Ziraku or whatever. They may have him as one of the top guys, and Ibuka as a top receiver along with Burden, and Hairston at corner, and Savone Revel. So, yeah, there's plenty of guys, and they want to trade back. So, you know, again, it's such a boring answer. I hate when people, no offense, I mean, I hate when people ask it because I always have to give a terrible answer. But the bottom line is, it just depends how they see the board. And I obviously have no idea how they view it.
What's going on, so modified fight? Calling back again, I remember a tiny bit more of what I forgot. One was, we were talking about the Draft Day movie.
Yep.
I'm going to be honest, it's a good movie.
Okay.
But to me, it's not like I don't want to say movie you have to see, because I can hear the hesitation in your voice when you talk about the movie. It's not like a great movie as far as like a must watch. Hell, the worst Predator movie I enjoy more than Draft Day.
Oh, no.
So that should show you.
Oh, no.
I'll tell you something. Draft Day is a good story. It's just not. But it's kind of. I don't say like nothing.
Which one do you think is the worst, by the way? Is it the second one? And then I kind of enjoyed the second. I kind of enjoyed both of the ones that supposedly were bad. The second one I kind of enjoyed because it was very like early 90s, late 80s kind of vibe to it. It's in the city. It's who are the guys in that one? Oh, you have Danny Glover and Gary Busey. I mean, come on. There's only so much I can hate a movie that has Danny Glover and Gary Busey in it. You know what I mean? Like, there's something endearing about it. Now, if you maybe aren't my age and didn't kind of grow up in that era, you probably would hate it. But and then the fourth one also was supposed to be really bad. But again, some of the slapstick humor was actually kind of funny, even though I don't usually like when they try to make action movies into comedies, but I thought some of it was actually kind of funny. So it's a good thing I came in with low expectations, but I'm just curious which one you thought was the worst.
Happens. It kind of show you maybe like the other end of the other side of the draft. Like, we know people getting picked, but we don't see what's going on behind, and it kind of just fills in a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we kind of know and understand. So I guess it all depends on how much you know about the draft. But it's not like to me, it's like I watched it. All right, I watched it. Cool. I'll keep it going. I don't need to go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
As far as that. So that would be my recommendation. You take it as if you will. If you're bored, you got an hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours to yourself. Well, I guess cut on and watch it. But to me, it's not a must-watch film, especially must-watch football film. That transition to let me hear your top three favorite personal. It don't have to be critically acclaimed. Top three favorite football films.
Ooh.
I hear that. You can tell me those. I'll mention one that I love because it shows like the funny and dark side of it, of the NFL. It's Any Given Sunday. I love that movie.
Sure.
It's some people don't like that movie. I find it hilarious, enjoyable, action-packed, everything that would normally be in a football movie is in a football movie. And then I like The Replacements. That was a comedy, and then daggone it's a tie between Friday Night Lights and I forgot the Denzel one. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep, that's one of mine for sure.
You know what I'm talking about. The Disney movie. Those are my football films. Let me hear your top 5 or 3 or whatever football films.
So
and it was one more thing.
Hold on.
Oh yeah.
Let me do this while I got it here. So I think I know my top 3, but I might be kind of cheating. I'm going to look through the list and see if I'm missing any. There's a couple that are really good, but I just kind of overplayed. Like Rudy. Rudy's a good movie. It really is. Maybe I've just seen it enough, you know. I don't really need to see it again, I feel like. But it is a very good movie. I just don't think it's in my top 3. Remember the Titans, I think, is in my top 3. See if I can find it here. Not Draft Day. So it's Any Given Sunday is pretty good. That's not my top 3 though. We Are Marshall's decent, but no. Ooh, see, that's another one where I feel like it's kind of cheating because it doesn't have that like football movie vibe to it. I might have to There's a couple that might be kind of cheating that I want to put on my list because they're just good movies. Not to mention, freaking Waterboy's such a good movie. I'm gonna have all stupid answers, but I do love the Waterboy. I'll keep that off though. Where is my my absolute favorite one? I can't even find it on here. Not even on the list of best. I think my favorite football movie of all time is Everybody's All-American. I love that movie so much. If you have not seen it, you got to see it. It's Jessica Lange, Dennis Quaid. I don't really know who a lot of those people are, but a lot of you are movie people, so you know who like Timothy Hutton and Jessica Lange are. I don't. But Dennis Quaid and John Goodman are in it. Those are the two I know. But it's basically a college football legend, which is actually appropriate for what we're doing here with the draft. The guy is like all-time great college football player, goes to the pros and just kind of sucks, like it's not working. But very, very good movie. My first stupid answer, which I would have to bump Remember the Titans for, would be Little Giants. I really love Little Giants. That was like one of my go-to movies as a kid. If that doesn't count, we'll leave Remember the Titans. And then another one that's kind of cheating, but it is like an all-time great movie, in my opinion. One of the best sports movies that's ever been made, and that's Jerry Maguire. Again, I don't know if these like fall in. It's kind of like when you say like, what's the best Christmas movie? And it's like Die Hard. Is that, whatever. Jerry Maguire is a phenomenal movie. I love Jerry Maguire. But I think the genre of like football movies are generally, they're okay. Kind of sappy, whatever, Friday Night Lights. They're good maybe once, and I don't really need to see it again. But again, Remember the Titans is of the football genre, maybe my favorite, along with Everybody's All-American. Gotta go watch it. Best football movie in existence.
So lastly, I want to hear your top 5 players realistically that we can get in the first round and in the second round that you'll be super happy we can get. So not something like that's really not going to happen. Something like realistically can happen.
Top 5.
In the first round and then the second round. 5 players that if we got, that'll be great. And then, you probably don't want to do this, but I would say also give me 5 players that you hope we don't draft.
It's tough because it's like, I don't want to I guess I could. There's 2 ways to answer it. Like top 5 that could be realistic. So again, Tetero McMillan, Will Johnson, the corner. And again, this isn't even necessarily my opinion. I'm just kind of looking to the top and saying what fluky things could happen where they fall and maybe we trade up or something. I'm trying to honestly think, though, like which are the 5 guys in the first 2 rounds that have me doing the biggest backflips? And obviously, you guys know a lot of the names that I like. There's some that I like just by virtue of, again, they check all the boxes. Everybody else is excited. I didn't necessarily love it when I watched them, but I get it, and I'd be excited if the Packers are on board, like Derek Harmon. If we draft him, let's go. Kenneth Grant, super stoked. I think Walter Nolan, though, that's kind of the intersection between he's popular, he's really good, and that's my dude. So let's just do that. Although, like I said before, every one of these guys I have some reservations about. But let's do Walter Nolan. And again, we said second round too, so some of these you can call them second round if you want. Guys I would be most excited about, so that's 1. I want to be kind of choosy here. Where are my pass rushers at? Uman Mielen and Trey Harris are 2 and 3. Ayo Manor would be 4. And then somebody at the top. There's a bunch of guys, man. I hate to say it because I railed against him so much, but there's something there's a magnetic pull for me toward Jahdae Barron. Like, obviously, T-Mac, right? Teddy Roller McMillan. But assuming that's out of range. There's just something cool about Jahdae Barron. And the thing is, if we draft him, it answers that question for me of, is he just a slot guy? The answer is no. So this is a direct one-to-one Jair replacement, right? He's a little smaller, but not really. I mean, he's an under 6 foot, pretty built dude. But the other thing is, like, he's so, when I saw how what people said about him, being like shockingly dedicated to the game and like immerses himself in film and with the coaches and is just super dedicated, just like the exact perfect locker room guy that just wants to dominate football. Because there's so many guys that become great players because they just want to be great and they dedicate their life to it. Go figure, right? There's other guys that they've been great their whole life. They were great as kids. They were great in middle school, high school, and in college. They barely had to do anything. They're going out drinking with their friends. They show up and they just dominate. You can't do that at the pros, and they're not willing to do that next step. The bottom line is you get to the pros, everybody's elite, and it's only the guys that put in that psychotic amount of work, with the very rare exception of the top 3 to 5% that don't need to do that even in the pros. But for everybody else, man, you got to put in a stupid amount of work. And I just feel like there's something about Jahdae Barron. He's a worker. He's a grinder. There's so many guys I look at that I just kind of go, I don't know. Jalen Walker is like, he's really good, but he's kind of a smaller guy. Will Johnson, like, he's supposedly really good and he's, high up on the list and everything, but there's like injury concerns and stuff, isn't there? And Shamar Stewart scares the living crap out of me. Especially listening to what was said in the McGinn thing, where it's like, the guy's not a football player. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing out there. He's an athlete he's freaking whatever. And like Michael Williams, it's a weird thing. And Mike Green, I kind of get it, but small school, and like there's obviously the allegations and stuff. And like Matthew Golden, like I kind of get it, but I'm not 100% there. Like, if you could just promise me that the really good parts, and that's the part of scouting that's difficult, right? You see the positive, and it's like, okay, can you do that all the time? Can that translate, et cetera, et cetera? But I just don't know. Can you be the X? Can you be the number one dude? That's, they're gonna press you up. They're gonna try to double you. Can you get off that? Can you fight off that? Can you get through that? Can you put 4.29 on the field, or is that just a 40-yard dash thing? Kenneth Grant, big dude that's athletic, but he didn't play very big to me. James Pierce got a lot of weird stuff that I don't know about him. Derek Harmon, like, why was it just a one-year thing and you sucked before that? You're kind of a run defender that had one good year as a pass rusher. I don't know if I trust you. Ooh, there's Nick Scorton, too. I'd have left Nick Scorton off my list, didn't I? So I don't know. I think it's a little bit more level. Usually it's like this guy would have me doing triple backflips. Now it's like I like these 5 guys. If they go with these guys, there's a huge pile of guys that I get it, even though I didn't get it at the time, but I understand it. Like, obviously they believe in the hype that all these things. So, okay, I understand why we're doing it. Cool. Let's hope that that's what happens, and we got something good here. I can get behind it. As far as what I would hate, I mean, it's probably going to be more positional. I mean, Shamar Stewart would make me upset. It would just make me straight up upset. As much as I kind of criticize Packer fans for, like, I need you to define what you mean by, like, lack of production and like being a project and all that, because I think that's overly generalized. This is the prototype, right? Now, I don't think this is what the Packers draft all the time, and that's kind of the point. They do sometimes, but not all the time. We just pretend that that's the case. But this guy it's too much. I'm not interested. If they go offensive line, it's possible I wouldn't be happy about it. I understand it's super important and it's critical, and if he's great, then that's great. But I would hate that. Safety obviously would be absurd. Running back would be absurd. Interior offensive line like Tyler Booker would be infuriating to me, because all that would mean is, oh, great, so I guess Tyler Booker is playing right guard, which means Jordan Morgan is playing left tackle, which means we did what? We downgraded left tackle? Cool. I mean, maybe not, and that could be great. Maybe we have this elite offensive line now because everything's all figured out. That could happen. I'm still a little annoyed because it's probably not going to just end up all perfect. Gray Zabel, same thing. Josh Curley. I think there's a couple other guys that I just didn't like. Like, he's fallen pretty far now, but like Benjamin Morrison, I understand like there's some stuff on tape, I think from like 2 years ago, that people are obsessed with. So it would be one of those I'd have to go back and kind of find that, and then I would eventually get into it. I think the like 320-pound defensive tackle types, there's a couple of those in the second round, and I do think the Packers are obsessed. I don't want that in the first round, though. I don't want a 320-pound one-tech in the first round. That's not going to provide pass rush. I don't want that. You can get that in the later rounds. So that kind of stuff would probably bother me a little bit. All right, we are over an hour, so I think we'll just cut it right there. Appreciate all of the calls. We got about 4 hanging here, so we're going to need a couple more. If you want to get your calls in, it would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, you guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.